Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and as it happens I'm talking about Dungeons and Dragons 5e for the Dungeon Master. For those of you who wanted some tidbits, some little hints, I'm using my variant rule. So for those of you who wanted to know what is all this group initiative idea all about, well, essentially it's not in the Dungeon Master's guide. It's my personal variant rule that I use to speed up combat and just generally make life easier for myself. So as I said, my own personal method of managing Dungeons and Dragons 5e combat and initiative. So I'm going to pull up a map and show you exactly what I've got here today. We're going straight to the jinx of it. I've got here the jungle temple, and we've got ourselves a young dragon here, a young green dragon. We've got our party members. I've selected a wizard, a fighter, a rogue. So I believe the wizard is over here. The fighter is up here. I know it looks like a barbarian. It's a fighter. This here is the cleric, and this is the rogue. And for whatever reason, situation arises, they're exploring, and then suddenly you say, oh, you see a dragon moving through the rubble or the temple location. Roll initiative, because it looks like it's about to attack you, because it's just bellowed. Now, that's your opening, and then you say, okay, roll initiative. Now, normally what you do when you're rolling initiative is you get everybody to roll initiative, the Dungeon Master rolls initiative, and then you put everything into order. So you order up your initiative from highest to lowest, and whoever is at the top of the initiative goes first, which is all fine and dandy, and I don't have an issue with doing it that way, but I prefer to do things a little bit differently, and that is I usually get everybody to roll initiative before we even start the game session. I know that sounds strange. This is not an unusual technique. Many Dungeon Masters use this technique. So this is my method rather than using the conventional traditional method of doing initiative. What I will do is I will ask players to roll initiative, and often it won't just be one roll. I might ask for 5 rolls, and I will get them to write that down for me. So I'm at least one initiative roll before the game session begins. I usually keep it on a note paper, and that might have like a little tag or character tag for each player, so I know what it is. And I usually ask them with that character tag to write everything in pencil, because I expect for them to have to rub it out, or I usually get them to rub it out so I don't have to do quite so much work. They'll rub it out and write in a new initiative later on when we start a new combat. It just saves me time, so character tags are really good, and do it in pencil. Then you put everybody into order, highest to lowest, just like you normally would, and then we do something a little bit different. You place in your monster just like you normally would in the order with the players' characters, but don't have players wait. I know it's a turn-based game. I know it's a turn-based game, but get your head around the idea of not worrying about the turn-based, because the only reason to have a turn-based Dungeons & Dragons 5e game is if the Dungeon Master has monsters to play. And if the monsters don't have anything to do, then why do we need to worry about the cleric going first, the rogue going next, the fighter going after that, and then the wizard? It just depends on how the clusters are formed. So I usually just ask my players to just make a decision and then roll their dice. Tell me what you're going to do and then roll your dice. And you will get bombarded very quickly by those people who are well organized, but those players who are not well organized will take forever. And that's fine, because you're dealing with somebody else, and by the time they finally get their act together, you'll be ready for them, because you will have already worked your way through the players who were going to take their turn. So what does this look like? So you get a better idea. I'm going to roll some initiative. I've got some characters here. I've got some dice. I'm going to roll and write some numbers down. And so we'll start off with the fighter. So I roll my 20-sided dice. So I rolled an 11, and I'll take that 11. I'm going to add, it's a -1 for the fighter. I'm not going to even explain what that's all about. I know he's not wearing heavy armor. Just don't worry about it. It's not important. So -1, 11, initiative is 10. I'll stick it over here. We'll change the order in a second once I know what I've got. Okay, next initiative. I'm going to do for the Cleric. So I roll a 20-sided dice. I rolled an 18. Okay, so the Cleric's initiative modifier is -1 as well. So 18 less -1, 17. So there's the initiative for that one. Okay, and I'll work my way through the next character, and that is going to be the Wizard. So roll for the Wizard, 20-sided dice. I rolled a 15, and the initiative modifier for the Wizard is a +2. So 15 plus 2 is 17. All right, so there we go. 17. So they're going to be on the same initiative, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. Now the thing is, for those people who are used to older versions of the games, look, just because the players have the same number for their initiative does not mean they need to make another roll to determine who is going to go first, or determining it based on who has the highest dexterity modifier or the highest initiative modifier. I normally just talk to the players and say, look, you guys decide who's going to go first. If there's an argument, then I might have them roll dice. But if there's no argument and they can come to an agreement about, okay, we're going to let the Wizard go first, drop the fireball, and then the Cleric's going to come in, then that's all fine with me. I don't have a problem at all. Okay, so let's go with the Rogue next. Rogue has a modifier of +3. So that is 17 plus 3. That gives the Rogue a 20. Kind of expecting that. And so we'll shuffle them down. There's our order. Okay, we're going to roll for the Dragon next. Now the Dragon it's a green dragon. It has a modifier of +1. So I roll my 20-sided dice. I didn't roll very well. I rolled a 7 +1. So I get an 8. So you can see right now, and this has actually worked out brilliantly for me. It wouldn't have mattered whether it was at the top of the initiative or the bottom of the initiative. This means that all of the players are essentially bunched up in one place. And I'm not going to get to take my turn to the end of the initiative. That means that the Rogue, the Wizard, the Cleric, and the Fighter, whether you did it in order or you did it all as a big bunch, as a group, it won't matter because I'm going last in the round anyway. So normally what I will say to my players is like, Rogue, Wizard, Cleric, Fighter, take your turns. Tell me what you're going to do. Once you've done that, roll the dice. Roll the attack dice, roll the damage dice. Tell me what the spell save modifier, spell save DC is, and we just do it. And usually what will happen is you'll have a couple of people who will rattle off all their bits and pieces really quickly, and others who will like start looking through the book and deciding how the spell works. That's how I do it. Now, if I have too many people approach me at the same time, I say, okay, I just pick one. And I go through, okay, you've explained what you're going to do, roll your dice. While they're rolling their dice, I'm dealing with the next person. And that way, it speeds up the process. And I'm not sitting there waiting, and neither are the players sitting there waiting for somebody to take their turn when they should have been prepared already. Now, what this does is once they've all finished their turn, I usually have a piece of paper with the order of initiative on it, and I will tick off who has actually taken their turn. Because otherwise I will lose, I won't remember specifically whether the Fighter has already taken their turn in round 1, or maybe the Wizard wasn't organised and still organising things, but the Rogue's taken their turn first, then the Cleric was organised, Fighter went next, and then the Wizard finally had their spell worked out, and they told me what they were going to do. So once that's all done, then I take my turn, and then we get back to the next round, so round 2, and I do the same thing again. And I've found, as a general rule, what will happen is the players will finish a combat anywhere from levels 1 through to about level 10 in about 5 minutes. I know you're thinking, Fred, you're full of it. What a load of BS. But trust me, it's like that. Now, what happens if you have another monster? So I've got I've got another monster I want to chuck in here. And I thought what I would do is I would use a troll. I did actually ask for a whole lot of information from people about what their favourite monsters were, and I decided a troll sort of hanging out with a dragon, a green dragon, might make a little bit of sense. So I have selected a troll. Now the troll has a modifier of +1. I'm going to roll a 20-sided dice. Okay, so that means it's an 18 for the troll. And as you can see, I will grab the troll in a second. I know, and I will shuffle these along so you can see roughly where everything is. Okay, so it's bunched up again. So I take my, well, should I say, I don't take my turn. It's not bunched up again. I'm just going to grab the troll because I know it's around here somewhere. I know I didn't lose it. Ah, gotcha. Found him. There he is. There's the troll. Okay, so what's happened is now we've got the rogue separated from the rest of the group and the dragon's right at the end. So what I will do is I'll say, okay, we've rolled initiative. Say we're in round 2 and a troll shows up and I've slipped them into the initiative order. There it is. Round 2. Okay, I say, rogue, player, take your turn. And I just wait. They take their turn. I get to the troll. I make the troll do whatever it's going to do. And then when we get to the players here, there's a group here. Wizard, cleric, fighter. I say, okay, players, wizard, cleric, fighter, tell me what you're going to do. And we just work through them at the same time. And then at the end of round 2, I'll get the dragon to do whatever it's going to do. Probably fly around and breathe on them. And that's essentially how I run group initiative. It runs it very fast. I've found my players, almost every single player has been absolutely amazed at how quickly and fun combat has been. And because they can cluster themselves like this, they don't have to worry about using ready to actions quite so much. The ready to action often does not get used. They don't need to get annoyed that they can't hold an action because there's no such thing as holding an action in Dungeons & Dragons 5e. And they can conspire amongst themselves. The wizard, the cleric, the fighter can sort of conspire and sort of decide what would be the best way to make this work. And if they are all organised, that's what they'll do. But if they're not, the ones that are organised and ready to go, they just take their turn and get it out of the way. And the one that's slow, eventually by the other time the other 2 have had their turn, they're ready to go. So that's really how I run group initiative. It's really simple, it's fast, it's efficient, and it's actually not that difficult as a dungeon master to figure out. So if you found this video helpful or informative, and I really hope you did, then please like the video. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already subscribed. Hit the bell button to be notified when I go live and when I publish new videos. And I have many videos. So if you have stuff that you want to ask about player stuff or dungeon master stuff, I have heaps and heaps of stuff on all of that. There's hundreds of videos. Now, if you want to support my channel so I keep doing this sort of thing, then watch more of my videos. You helped support me by watching this video, and I do appreciate it. I know you had to sit through an ad probably. I don't do things like Patreon. I'm not going to do Patreon for 2019. I do have affiliate links to the book depository and Amazon where you can buy stuff online, and I get a small commission. You pay exactly the same price, and it helps get me funding so I can keep buying equipment and doing this sort of thing. Now, if you have questions, if you have feedback, if you don't like the system, if you have a better system, or if you have some suggestions to make it a bit more streamlined, by all means do that. Now, as I said, all of this rolling that I did before, I get all the players to do all of that well before the combat starts. And I often roll initiative for the monsters before a combat even starts, right at the very beginning of a session. I've only rolled the dice here just so there's something for me to do, essentially. So if you're part of the live stream, ask your questions, give your feedback, say hi. If you're not part of the live stream, that's what the comments section's all about. Just go down there, give your feedback there, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.